All right. What's going on, fellas? Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a good one. We are in. It is championship week. This is where championships are won and lost. So we will do our absolute best to answer these questions the best we can. But as always, go with your own conviction. If you think we're wrong, go with your gut. You want to lose the championship or win the championship on the back of your own decisions. As always, Jared was the first one in here. Is in the championship and desperate at running back 2. Devin Singletary or Michael Carter. This is very easily Devin Singletary for me.
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, given the game environment, given, the split backfield with Donovan Knight and Michael Carter.
Also, you have a Monday night miracle, too, if you need something. Which is, I mean, a side benefit of having that Bengals-Bills game on Monday night in the championship week is that, those of you guys that have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Stephon Diggs, if you're, need one guy to go off on the final game to win the championship, I think Devin Singletary has a decent chance to find the end zone. And Carter's pretty much running second fiddle to Donovan Knight on the ground. He's kind of just getting mixed in. So he's not a guy that I'm overly excited about starting this week. In the championship, who should I start flex option? DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, or Deontay Johnson?
I know
so
my
I'm looking
answer.
at my rankings. I'm looking at who I have the highest out of these guys. I believe I have Metcalf the highest out of these guys.
Garrett Wilson for me.
You would start Garrett Wilson straight up over Metcalf?
I would. Yes, 100%.
I would
Dude,
not.
The Jets cornerbacks are fucking ridiculous this year. DJ Reed and Sauce
I know they've been really good, but the Seahawks have also been very good at corner. They haven't allowed a pass of fucking 20-plus yards in 7 games.
Fun fact, do you want to know what Garrett Wilson's... I know it's, an easy narrative, but the splits with Garrett Wilson without Zach Wilson this year?
Obviously, Mike White helps, yeah.
But you know how actually crazy they are? He's averaging 19.3 PPR points per game, 9.5 targets per game, and 91.5 yards receiving yards per game with Mike White at the helm.
I'll give you him. You want to have him?
I mean, I'll take him if you don't want him.
So I initially had Garrett Wilson as my going nuts pick this week for 20-plus PPR points, but Danny seems more bullish on him than I am. So I'll give you Garrett Wilson. I will pick a new player. So Danny thinks he's going for 20-plus this week against the Seattle Seahawks. Let us know down below if that's a 1-pointer, 2-pointer, or 3-pointer, 1-pointer being that it's very likely to happen, 3-pointer being that it's unlikely to happen, and Danny will get the points if it happens. So,
I mean, I can just transition that right in if you put up the lock of the week on the screen.
Yep.
So my lock of the week is actually Jets -1.5 on the road against the Seahawks this week. Obviously, Mike White at the helm. This Jets team needs that big win to get back into the playoff hunt. I guess you could say the same thing for Seattle, but I think that Jets defense is going to ball out. And like I mentioned with Garrett Wilson going off for 20+, I think he's going to have a huge game in this game. So ultimately, I think the Jets do take this one -1.5. I think they win by 2 or more.
Yeah, that's an interesting bet. I didn't actually personally lay money on that one. I debated it, but I was like, that seems like a heart bet rather than a head bet. The Seahawks, it seems like a bit of a trap line because the Seahawks, the way they've been playing recently, would indicate that the Jets should probably be even bigger favorites. But the fact that it's a low favorite like that makes me think the Seahawks might win this game. I don't know.
Very well could. But I'm just going to trust, great defense, traveling, Seattle. 1.5 is, I mean, realistically 1.5. If you're winning a game, you should win by that much regardless.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
We got a couple supers here. First one, sent message in chat. Happy New Year, lads. Appreciate that, Ella. Yeah, you can get to that, and then we got one from our gravy. I'll get into afterwards.
So he said, what's up, lads? I'm in the finals, and last week I benched Devontae Smith and Cam Akers. LOL. No clue how I still made it. I need to fade Eckler, Chubb, Tyreek, but I have ETN, Sagoat. Is that Saquon, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Waddle, and Adams. So is there a question in here? I need to fade Eckler. Okay, so I'm guessing those guys are the ones you're going up against, and then you need ETN. So ETN is actually my going nuts pick of the week. I just transitioned to him because the Texans are the 32nd ranked defense against fantasy running backs. Travis Etienne's been due for a big game. He's been getting the carries, not so much the targets, but he definitely has been getting volume. So I think he's going to go nuts against the Houston Texans this week. Let us know down below if you guys think that if Travis Etienne goes for 20-plus PPR points, should I be rewarded with 1 point, as in it's likely to happen? It's the Texans. 2 points. Etienne's been struggling. 3 points. It's pretty bold. Etienne has been a little overrated this year, potentially. So he also says you both taught me a lot this year in fantasy. So huge shout out. Yeah, appreciate that for sure. We can get into the other super chat there.
Yep, I got it here. I was just switching the screen. Next super chat here from our Gravy. Appreciate that. He says, worried about Jags getting started at some point. Who is my flex option 1 and 2? Half PPR, Bam, Zay, London, James Cook, Dotson, 9K on the line. Jesus, what a league.
Yikes.
I mean, for me, Drake London is the lock out of these group. Drake London is a top 24 wide receiver for me. The usage, did you know he's had 32 targets in his last 3 games and a near 39% target share in his last 3 games?
Yeah, he's been great from a targets perspective. I think I wouldn't say he's the lock. To me, it's between 3 guys. It's between Bam Knight, Drake London, and Jahan Dotson for me. Those would be the 3 guys that I'd be between right now.
I think I lean
Bam Knight and Drake London probably as the 2 guys that I'm going with. I've already kind of talked about in the RB rankings video that I love Bam Knight this week to get back on track. Mike White just kind of makes everything happen when he's back in there. Passing game runs better. The run game runs better. And the Seahawks are much more susceptible to fantasy running backs than they are to fantasy wide receivers. So I think Bam Knight is actually the guy that potentially has a great game this week. So I would go Bam Knight and Drake London, but I wouldn't blame you for going Jahan Dotson and Drake London either.
I'm down to make Dotson versus Bam a bet, half PPR.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think both are strong plays. It's just the recent involvement of Dotson combined with the fact that Carson Wentz, as we've kind of seen, I mentioned on the wide receiver show,
he's like Dotson a little bit.
Yeah, the tendency of Wentz has more so been to spread the ball, whereas when Taylor Heineke was in, his first, second, third, and fourth read were all Terry McLaurin. So I do think that Dotson could have a good game in this one, as leading the league, or leading receivers in the league, right? Or leading rookie receivers right now in terms of receiving touchdowns. The continued involvement, obviously fully healthy from that injury that he suffered in the mid portion of the year. So I'm a big fan of Jahan Dotson. I think he can help you win the 9K.
Yeah, man, he's getting up there. If he continues to finish strong, he's going to be up there in terms of dynasty wide receivers. I've seen him already kind of climb to like the borderline top 20 range, which is, I think, even a little rich for my blood as like a huge Jahan Dotson guy. I'm surprised he's kind of had this like meteoric rise that we've seen out of him the past couple of weeks. I think that'll correct itself once we get into the offseason. People dig into like the target share numbers and stuff, but yeah, definitely. I would say if you guys got him at 202 or 201 or whatever in your rookie drafts, I would say it was definitely a hit of value.
Yep. Yeah. Next super chat here from Ozzel. Appreciate that. Ozzy. Okay. The eye was a little bit smudged on my screen, but then when I looked at the actual other screen, it's an eye. So
clean your screen.
Yeah. PPR, B-Rob, Evans, Judy for flex.
Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
I have Brian Robinson as a top 12 running back this week.
Jeez. Yeah. No, I definitely can see it. And Evans and Judy more so in that back end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 range for me. So yeah, if you want to go with
I like Evans this week too. He had the last time they played Carolina, he dropped a 70-yard touchdown. Like they had a monster potential for a huge game there, and he's due for a big game, I would say, as well. But I like Brian Robinson's outlook's way too clean this week.
Corey, I need to hear it right now. What is your reaction if Tampa does drop this division game and probably the division this week to Carolina?
Honestly, it wouldn't shock me. They got to put the season out of their misery a little bit. But they shouldn't lose this game. You should beat this team. This is a game at home. It's a division opponent. You already lost to them once. You shouldn't get swept by a division opponent like Carolina.
Especially Carolina, man. That would be.
And Sam Darnold, the type of QB he is, if you can get after him early, if you can blitz him heavy, he might get rattled early on, and then that could be a big time thing for you.
And I actually do think he's got some sneaky sleeper, premise to him. He's been efficient. The only problem that's been with Darnold is that he hasn't thrown the ball a lot. 22 attempts.
They've been running the ball like crazy.
However, and against the front like Tampa, Vita Vea, I believe, is active for this game. It got reported this morning. He is active for this game. They're not going to be able to run the ball for 300 plus yards on Tampa. And if that's the case, if we're getting, 28, maybe 30 passing attempts from Darnold, obviously we know he can move. And given how DJ Moore's been playing on his own right, I do think that he's a fringe top 20 level quarterback this week. So some appeal on super flex leagues.
If you guys are making bets this week too, I think if you're going to bet Carolina to win the game, then you should probably bet like a Deontay Foreman anytime touchdown or like a receiver or a rushing yards line or something. Cause I think that's the only way they're going to win, is if they can run the ball effectively. And if Tampa wins, I think you got like potentially like some Mike Evans touchdown appeal, some Chris Godwin receiving. I think you're going to be able to move the ball on offense against Carolina's defense, because it's not a very scary defense, and they actually don't travel very well too. And this game is in Tampa. So I think if Tampa wins, they'll probably be able to do it via the passing game and probably playing good defense against the run on the other side. But if Carolina wins, it'll probably be as a result of Foreman, Hubbard, and the run game.
Yeah, if your perspective is that Tampa's going to win, like Tampa's not going to be able to run the ball at will against Carolina. It's going to have to be through the passing game. JC Horn obviously out for the season. I believe, what was it, a hand or Lisfranc? I don't know exactly what it was.
It's a wrist injury, I think.
Wrist injury, that's what it was. Lisfranc was last year that he was dealing with, or foot injury last year that he was dealing with. So it's tough because I'm a big JC Horn fan, but I mean, 2 straight seasons dealing with such injury risk, like it's tough, man, because he was genuinely playing like one of like the top 10 to 12 corners in the NFL in the early portion of this year. So that's a huge loss for Carolina, especially if they're able to get out of that division. But without him, it's going to be tough to guard those receivers that you guys got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a few supers here. First one from Huncho: sit DK, Adams, or Dotson full PPR. I think you still got to sit Dotson. As much as I like him this week, DK and Adams are clear top. I mean, DK is a top 15 wide receiver for me. Adams is, I believe, my wide receiver 10 overall. So you just got to go with the volume for those guys.
Yeah, Dotson's been great, but you can't set him for those guys.
Yep.
Or you can't
another super chat. Appreciate that. He says KC or Jags D, Pacheco, Olave, or Goddard for the flex. I just got to trust the process with Kansas City. They're a 12.5-point home favorite against Denver. Denver has not had any success this year on offense. And I mean, KC knows that they're still competing for that number 1 seed in the AFC, especially if Buffalo loses this week to Cincinnati. So I do think that Kansas City is going to put a pretty big thumping on Denver after the embarrassment a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think where I would start Olave. Like, where does Olave fit into you? For you?
I mean, I would start him over these options. Like he would be my pick here.
Yeah,
I still think he's got to be considered a top 25 at least wide receiver.
Yeah, I think it's a little risky. Like, I would start him over like an Amari Cooper, for example, or like a Juju, but I probably wouldn't be starting him up near like Mike Williams or Devontae Smith or Garrett Wilson types.
Yeah.
Just given the injury risk. If he was like 100%, I would say he's definitely up there. But
start Stevenson or Keenan Allen. I love Keenan Allen this week. He's my wide receiver 7 overall. But I think if Stevenson's active, he's a top 5 running back.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. The Dolphins you can run against the Dolphins, and Stevenson had 91% of the snaps last week. He had a bad game, but he had 91% of the snaps. That's all I really care about.
I definitely want to get Keenan in my lineup though. So I'd be curious to hear who your receivers are.
Yeah,
he's my wide receiver 7 overall this week.
Agreed. He's pretty high for me as well.
Next super chat from LOL. Appreciate that again. Also, Giants D or Jags D. Worried about the Jags benching some guys because again, I think I mentioned this on yesterday.
I think a lot of people have kind of expressed this concern. I don't think they're going to bench anybody, to be honest. They need to stay warm to play Tennessee next week. Fair. So if they bench people, it'll probably be like in the fourth quarter, for maybe half the fourth quarter or something like that. Yeah. I'm not really all that concerned about it.
Yeah, no, that definitely is fair. Who do the Giants play offhand this week?
The New York Giants play against Indianapolis at home. I would probably go with the Giants defense over the Jags defense.
Yeah, I know Brock is in here, but
I believe the Colts are the number 1 matchup for fantasy defenses, if I'm not mistaken.
When you got Nick Foles tossing 4 picks on a Monday Night Football game, then I mean, that's gonna happen.
Exactly. It's not a good situation in Indianapolis. I'd probably go with the Giants D.
So next super chat is from Jose. He's got the follow-up question here, so I will get right to it. Appreciate that. He says Pittman Jr. or Dotson/Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think you still got to go with Michael Pittman here. The volume, the matchup here. The Giants have not been able to cover a nosebleed in like the last month. So I do think that Michael Pittman, even if he doesn't have the crazy ceiling, could potentially, return what he did against Minnesota, where, he had, I believe, 14 targets in that game, had like about 16 PPR points. Like, we're just looking for volume at this point, even if, of course, with Michael Pittman, you don't have that high-end ceiling because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah, I think Dotson probably is the higher ceiling play because he's been the touchdown guy. But Pittman for sure is going to get more volume, so I'd go with him.
Yeah. Next super chat from Sean. Appreciate that. He says, Happy New Year, fellas. Appreciate that, by the way. You as well. Need 2 flex full PPR, Dortch, Chark, Dotson, Akers, Algier. Also, am I crazy to start Kmet over Andrews? So for the first question, I mean, I would definitely start Andrews over Kmet, but I do see the appeal because of the high over-under, because of the matchup. But, I mean, Andrews is just, you lock it in. You have to.
You go with the 2 running backs here on the first question?
I
definitely go Akers. Akers is definitely one of them, I think, for sure.
I think I would, but Algier versus Dotson in a full I mean, the thing with Dotson, of course, he's not this huge target magnet, so the full PPR, I mean, realistically, Algier might catch as many passes. Like, Algier might catch 4 or 5 passes. Dotson, realistically, is probably in that range anyways, too. So I don't really think the full PPR, you typically, you would fully favor the receiver here, but at least I know the receiving involvement has been semi-comparable.
Yeah.
I think I got to go with Algier against the Cardinals team, especially without those two big weapons. David Blau, quarterback. I think Atlanta's going to try to control this game. 6.5-point home favorite. So I think you got to go with Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I want to get Dotson into my lineup if I can, but I like Algier a little bit more here.
Yep, agreed. Choose to. Oh, he says choose to. Oh, got you for the other question. So he's got already Pittman. The second question would be Dotson or Peoples-Jones. I would go with Dotson over Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, Dotson over Peoples-Jones for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Appreciate the follow-up. And of course the super chat.
Yep. So we're back up to the top here at 11:55 a.m. Starting Superflex, PPR, tight end premium, Cousins, Herbert, Moss, Brian Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Thielen, Metcalf, Higgins. Need one more starter. Fant, Pickens, Chris Moore, Slayton, or Juwan Johnson. I'm probably going to lean Slayton here. The Ravens defense has been very strong over the last 2 months or so. So Pickens would be probably the second guy I would go to, but Darius Slayton's been pretty solid, man. He's getting targets. He's got a big play, upside. I'd probably just roll with Darius Slayton there in a game against Indianapolis. They're a dead team. I know they're relatively a good defense overall, but they're not playing for anything. I think that there's a good chance the Giants just put up numbers on them.
Yep, agreed. We got another super chat here from Jay. So this is the follow-up because I mentioned I would want to get Keenan Allen to my lineup. So this is the two receivers he has over Adams and Waddle.
I would start him over Adams.
I would start him over both. Realistically, he would be my number one option. And then Adams versus Waddle. I think I would slightly still lean Adams, but
yeah, I have them 10, 11, 12 legitimately. That's how they are ranked for me. Yeah, Keenan, Adams, and Waddle is how I have them ranked.
I believe right now I have Keenan at 7, I have Adams at 10 or 11, and then I have Waddle at about 15. So they're all fine plays, but I would definitely want Keenan Allen. The Chargers offense, obviously, of course, still playing for seeding. They want to play the winner of the AFC South, and in order to do so, they basically have to win out because they got to pass Baltimore in the standings.
Yeah, they don't want to play the Bengals in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that Chargers passing game is going to keep on going. And I mean, with the way Justin Herbert's been playing in the, last few weeks, obviously, last week didn't have to do a lot against a brutalized Colts team, but the week before he had a fucking baller game.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have I have an interesting underdog pick of the week because I think this is going to end up happening. It's a pretty close spread. I actually had the Dolphins money line initially, but the more I think about it, the narrative that Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season kind of creeps up to me, and I think the Steelers might beat Baltimore on Sunday night.
Brother, I was this close to picking that. I think the Steelers are going to win that game straight up. The reason why? Tyler Huntley, first of all, low over-under game. Divisional game, a lot of implications for the Steelers. Realistically, yes, Baltimore, you're still playing for the division. You're still playing for the 5 seed potentially at worst, but the Steelers have everything to play for here. They know they need to win out. They know they need some help in their favor in order to make the playoffs. So given the identity of that team, given the culture in that Steelers room, not to mention they lost to Baltimore just a few weeks ago, I can't see a Tyler Huntley Baltimore team sweeping the Steelers. And I guess I'm just making the case for you with your underdog pick, but I'll let you chime in.
No, yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the case that you just made. I think it makes a ton of sense. It's a divisional game. It's going to be close. And speaking of underdog, of course, you guys know we're running that contest. We're going to keep that going really until the end of the season. So if you guys want to get involved in these playoff best ball drafts, maybe after this week was the week you were waiting for, because then you see some more playoff implications and the picture looks a little bit clearer. And again, use that promo code FSE at sign up and first deposit. You'll be entered to win one of 5 free on-site credits for $50. So if you were to put in $20 on Underdog, and you get $40 for using our code, of course, and then you'd also have a chance to win an additional $50. That's a bunch of mitten drafts that you can do. I don't know if the mitten 2 is still going right now, but they're going to have a third mitten. They'll probably have a 4th mitten as well. They're going to have a ton of these tournaments going on. So definitely get involved in those. They are the single most fun way to get action on the NFL playoffs. It's not even close. It was so fun last year to sweat out, my Gabe Davis teams advancing out of the divisional round and seeing how many, I had so many Bills Rams stacks last year. So I was so mad that the Chiefs ended up winning that game, because if they didn't, then we had a chance of getting a Bills Rams Super Bowl, and it would have been awesome for my bank account if we did.
I had so many Bills Rams as well. It's fucking insane. The only teams I basically stack, it's so funny because I mean we're basically doing the same thing this year where we're only stacking certain teams, but I think again it's much more plausible this year that the high teams advance rather than last year, because I mean we had a team like the Bengals where if you dropped it early, they were going in the last rounds. They were like where Detroit Lions are going right now, or where a couple weeks ago, what's the team in the AFC that's been hot?
Like the Dolphins potentially.
Like
Chargers.
the reverse of the Dolphins, I guess, if you will. Jaguars.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy that we've seen some of these teams kind of make a push, and it's definitely going to impact these NFL playoff best ball things. But this year, I think it'll be a lot more clear. Like you said, we'll probably get, the Eagles not getting bounced in the first round like the NFC champion, Packers did last year, the NFC bye team, and then the Fugazi AFC Tennessee Titans 1 seed last year was like we kind of all
that
knew
was so
that
easy to call.
That was so easy to call them just being a huge fade.
Has Bam lost snaps to Carter in recent games? I know
not by a lot though. He's still running like 45% of the snaps or so for the New York Jets. But like I said, like I'm more focused on the efficiency of his carries with Mike White at quarterback, and the fact that when Mike White was last on the field, he was the primary running back, and it only kind of fell out of that favor because Zach Wilson was back there and teams knew that they could just load the box and stop the run, and Zach Wilson wasn't going to beat them. So I think now that Mike White is back there, we're going to see an increased efficiency and increased dependence on the run game. And if you're getting 15 to 20 touches out of Bam Knight, I think he's going to be a top 24 running back this week, which is why I have him rated that way. Even, in a game. And the Seattle Seahawks, for what it's worth, are actually brutal against the run. They're like one of the worst teams in the league against the run.
Yep. Next super chat, appreciate that from Justin. He says Cam Akers or AJ Dillon. I'm going with the volume of Akers, but I have both really high this week, both as top.
Yeah, I have them literally back to back. They're 16 and 17 in my rankings right now, but I do have Akers one spot higher.
Big shout out, because on my championship team that I have rolling this week, I actually do have AJ Dillon in that lineup. After we get through a couple comments, I'll just show you guys what I'm working with, because this is the only team that out of 5 semifinal teams ended up advancing to the championship. So big pain. But yeah, go Cam Akers there. Happy New Year's, fellas. Geno or Mike White? I had Geno a little bit higher, but I just switched it now because the more I think about it, I just made the case as to why I think that the Seahawks pass game might struggle in this game, given the play of those two cornerbacks for this Jets defense. And with Mike White, if I'm expecting Garrett Wilson to go off, I have to show some respect to his quarterback. So I would actually take Mike White here.
Yeah, it really helps for Geno that he's getting Tyler Lockett back, but he's got like 50 screws in his hand or whatever. So I'm not too bullish on the Seahawks passing game, which has been steadily declining for weeks and weeks now. I would rather just go with the hot hand, which last time Mike White was on the field was him. So I'm going to go with Mike White there.
Yep. Start Dallas D or Dallas Goedert or Dawson Knox full PPR. Thanks. Yeah, give me Dallas Goedert here.
Yeah, I'll take Dallas Goedert there as well.
Yep. PPR, Mike White or Mike Williams. Mike Williams, Dotson, Dubs, or London. I'm going with Mike Williams.
Yeah, that's easily Mike Williams. By the way, in my Can't Wait League, which was the league I drafted mid-season, the Dynasty startup I drafted mid-season, the guy that I'm competing with for the 101. So the way we're doing is because we drafted the team mid-season, it goes just max points for the rest of the year. That who determines the championship. That's how it determines the first pick. All that stuff is just max points for. We're basically just doing like a best ball league, I believe. So the guy that I'm competing with for the 101, he's like 40 or 50 less max points for up on me right now for the 101. I'm sitting at the 102. He had Dalton Schultz on Thursday night. So you had and it's you get a half point per receiving first down as well in this league. So, and it's a full PPR tight end premium. So Dalton
he
scored
like 25 points.
35 points.
Oh, 35. Yeah.
He dropped I think it was like 32 or 33 or something like that.
And I know for those of you out there who played best ball this year, who played the seasonal best ball over on Underdog, I'm still looking at that gauntlet team that lost last week. Trust me, I will be keeping tabs as to how many points.
Oh, dude, I'll be so mad if my BBM 3 team drops like numbers this week that was eliminated last week. I'm gonna be really pissed.
Good start with Dalton Schultz, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Oh man, funny how we both had him on our.
I had Prescott too. I don't remember how many points he ended up finishing.
17.
With, but probably that's probably not great. I still had Trevor Lawrence, who could have had a good game.
Zono or Zach Moss, Judy or Christian Watson. I'm going with Zonovan Knight over Zach Moss. And is Christian Watson active?
Both Watson and Judy are like kind of coming in with injuries right now. Watson, it sounds like he's going to be like a true game time decision by the sounds of it, which is.
I know Judy already got cleared.
Yeah, Judy already got cleared. I tend to lean Judy. He had 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. So he's already performed against this defense, and Watson is coming in with like a pretty,
probably
discouraging hip injury. So I would say that I would go with Judy there.
Yep. Stevenson over Kamara, Barkley other running back. Yeah, Stevenson over Kamara.
Stevenson way. I have Kamara at like 25, dude.
Yeah.
I know Kamara is like pretty high for most people, but I'm not ready to say that Kamara is going to have a good game this week. Like,
yep. But definitely go Stevenson. He's a workhorse, so anytime he's healthy. Full PPR, Juju or Judy. Thanks and good luck to all. I got to lean with Juju here. He's still the number one target for a Patrick Mahomes offense. 12.5 point favorites. I believe they're still implied for like 29 or 29.5 points. Like, we know the Chiefs' tendencies when they get into the red zone type of situations. You're not worried about, the running game or a running back, taking a carry to the end zone. Like, they're doing a bunch of gimmicks. They're throwing McKinnon in the swing. So I wouldn't be shocked if Juju Smith-Schuster actually finds the end zone this week as well.
Also, by the way, super annoying. In that same Dynasty League, I have Mahomes, who obviously in that format, you get points per passing first downs too. He puts 40 points up a week. Like he's so automatic. And I love having Patrick Mahomes in like a rebuilding type of situation.
Tank.
But he's hurting my tank so hard.
Yeah.
And also I grabbed guys like AJ Dillon, who I didn't think were going to help me too much in my rebuild, but he's dropping like 20 points a game for some reason. So
he's been nuts recently.
And not only that, but the guy that has the 101 right now had Jerick McKinnon, who was screwing him for like 2 games. He was just getting so many points. And he got a 2024 second and third for him in a trade.
Oh, my God.
Somebody gave him a 2024 2 and 3 for Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, that's why you sell off your assets.
No kidding. I'm like, geez, I sold. After he did that, I was like, I feel like I got to sell somebody too. So I sold Ayuk for a 2024 first.
Yeah, that's a steal. What the fuck?
I know, but like I was annoyed because this guy was getting like fluke points out of Jerick McKinnon.
But so after we get these super chats, I'll show my team. Appreciate you guys, by the way, all the support with the super chats right now. Jose, another question. He says Purdy, Jones, or Minshew at quarterback. I'm going with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I have Daniel Jones as my QB9 this week. I haven't really.
He's got a really good outlook this week. Where do I currently have him? He's my quarterback 11, just behind Aaron Rodgers and Trevor Lawrence.
Behind him though, I do have Purdy at 12, so he's a good start as well.
I have so Jones at 11, Purdy at 13, and Minshew at 14.
Yeah, I have him 9, 12, and 13 with Purdy at 12. Minshew at 13.
Pick one wide receiver 2, Judy Moore, Davis, Lazard, and then one
DJ
running back
Moore,
2.
I'm assuming, right?
If that's DJ Moore, I will go with DJ Moore.
I will as well. And then your RB2, Stevenson is all I have to read. That's Stevenson.
In case that's Chris Moore, I would go with Judy.
Yeah. And then one flex, all remaining options. So if you're starting DJ Moore and Ramondre Stevenson, I'm probably going to flex
Montgomery.
Yeah, Montgomery or Gabe Davis are probably the 2 guys I'd be between there.
I think I would go with it's a standard too, so I guess you get. But then again, I mean, Montgomery's a running back with a big.
Yeah, but I mean, Gabe Davis is kind of valuable in a high scoring game potentially. Yeah. I would say I'd probably just roll with Montgomery as my other option there. I
think I agree there. And again, appreciate these.
He had a Komet or Goddard, I think, is what he said at the end. I'd roll with Dallas Goddard.
Yeah. Go with Goddard for sure. Another super chat here from our Gravy. Appreciate that. He says starting Algier 2 down to Bam versus London now. So I'm going with London over Bam.
I'll take Bam.
Okay, we can make that another bet. Do we already have a Bam bet?
I already have a Bam bet, but I'll fucking ride or die with my guy.
Fuck, let's go.
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, like if you weren't following in the offseason, Bam Knight was like my dude in the draft class. Like he went UDFA, which is obviously not ideal, but I had a 3rd round grade on the guy. Like I thought he was a great prospect. And he was really productive and he was explosive. And then he was dealing with an injury after the season ended at North Carolina. And he like didn't end up testing at the combine. And then at his pro day, he was kind of hobbled. So his testing numbers were like ass. Like I think he ran like a 4.64 or something like that. But there's no fucking way that guy was not a 4.4 athlete. Like when you watched him on film and his, when he ran like his elusiveness drills, like the bag drills where you like test how fast your feet were. I'm not even kidding you, the fastest feet in the class. Like him and Kenneth Walker, I would say were probably the 2 most agile running backs in this draft class.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Got a super sticker from Dylan. Appreciate that. He also has a follow-up question, so we'll get to that. Pittman, Moss, or Dobbins? I would go with Michael Pittman here, Dylan.
Yeah, I would also go with Pittman. Although I don't actually hate Moss this week. The Giants have been pretty bad against the run.
So we're all caught up on the supers. I'll quickly show you guys. Actually, no, we just got one as I said that. PPR, tight end premium, Higbee or Njoku, Hunt, Dion, or Khalil Herbert at running back 2. So for the first question, I would go with David Njoku this week in that tight end premium. I mean, David Njoku, anytime he's healthy, has been a difference maker at tight end.
Yeah, and then I'm probably gonna go Khalil Herbert there, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert's got a
Give him
great
the matchup.
matchup, and they've been mixing. They mixed him in at like 40% of the snaps on his first game back, so I would say he's probably in line for a good amount of touches in this week.
Yeah, for real. So here, by the way, you guys will see there's one noticeable spot in my lineup that's like you, but this man, I wish I had the depth at wide receiver in this league, but shit happens. So I had the Prescott versus Prescott Lamb stack on Thursday night. Barkley, ETN, Adams, Russell Gage is the spot I was referring to, which is kind of gross. But then I have Kelsey, Dillon, and Latavius Murray this week. Considering, Murray versus Foreman versus, the other options I have here.
I would start Foreman over Murray.
You start Foreman over Murray?
I would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. They're really close. It's just receivers the one where I
would also start Moss over Murray too.
You would?
I would have Murray ranked at those guys.
Really?
Yeah, I had Foreman at 28 in my running back rankings video. I had Moss at 29, and I had Murray at like 35.
Damn. Well, then again, I think I am higher on Murray than you typically, but
I mean, he's had games where he's had like a great workload, and it's been kind of like inconsistent at times. But I mean,
I'll go Foreman over him.
If he gets the work, I understand it.
Yeah, no, like the more I think about it, I mean, at least we know with Foreman that they're
going to try and run. They're definitely going to try and run to win the game.
Yeah, and it's pretty unlikely that he doesn't score a touchdown if they're competitive in this game, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
so,
I have a bet this week, a 3-leg parlay of Zonovan Knight, Mike Evans, and Deontay Foreman anytime touchdowns.
Well, with all due respect to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I'm hoping that Russell Gage can catch another touchdown this week.
Gross.
He's got 18 targets in the last 2 games. Like, it's your team.
I still don't understand why we paid that guy so much money.
Flex full PPR, Dillon, Ayuk, Olave, or Najee Harris. Fuck, man.
I'd probably go Dillon there, to be honest.
Man, those first 3, I mean, all of them are really fucking close.
I think it's between Dillon and Ayuk, personally, just given that Olave's coming off of an injury.
I think I'd go Ayuk. I hope you're right on Dillon, because obviously I have him in my lineup, but I think I would go with Ayuk.
We can make that a bet if you want.
I don't want to bet against the guy that I'm cheering for to win my championship.
True. For what it's worth, our season bets on fantasy points right now are at 29-25. So are we going to end that after the season is done?
Yeah.
Or are we going to? I guess we probably can't really continue that into the playoffs.
We can do some fucking playoff stuff for fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some prop bets and shit during the playoffs for sure.
Let's do it. Fuck it. That's fine. And again, people are going to be in tournaments anyway, so we may as well. By the way, those numbers piss me off because they're so skewed by that 1 week. You like 9-1'd me.
Yeah, there was 1 week we made like 11 bets or some shit, or 10 bets, and I beat Danny like 9-1 that week. And not only did I beat him 9-1, like the guys that we bet were like,
they were like
guys that went off, and my guy went off like just a bit more.
It was crazy, and it's just like I'm looking at it. I'm like, every other week I won like by like 1 or 2, and then that week you just fucking obliterated me.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson over Algier, Burrow over Fields. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat. I would go with Garrett Wilson, yes, over Tyler Algier, and I would still go with Fields, given the over/under, given the climate in that game.
Right, they're 3 and 4 in my rankings. I have
Fields quarterbacks
3 though. Yeah,
they're 3 and 4 in my rankings.
Yeah, they're really close.
How did I get locked in with? I guess I got locked in with Jared Goff as my quarterback 5. I don't know how to switch it right now, so Jared Goff's my quarterback 5, I guess.
Jared Goff is locked in.
Well, I can't switch him. I thought I had Prescott ranked over him, but apparently I forgot to switch
at 5. Yeah,
I had Prescott at 6, and because I got locked under Jared Goff for some reason.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, if Jared Goff goes off, I'll look like a genius, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Dak didn't really have that good of a game, so
yeah. Appreciate the super chat from Big Mac. Godwin, Stevenson, or Ken Walker. Give me Stevenson here.
I'll take Stevenson there as well.
Now let's smash back some of the comments.
We are like we got like maybe 4 comments done before everyone started super chatting, so we
appreciate that. We just got another one.
So.
Appreciate the super chat, Dustin. He said need some help at a couple spots for the ship. Super flex, full PPR with a 1.5 tight end premium. Tight end spot is Knox or Njoku. I go with Njoku still, but they're relatively close.
Yeah, I'd go with
given the game environment.
And a tight end premium, we've seen when Njoku and Watson have like a connection, they've had a lot of targets between the 2 guys. So I'd probably go with Njoku there.
I will say though, if you are the underdog and you need like a big time performance, I don't mind going with
also
Knox.
You want a Monday night miracle?
Yeah,
Knox on Monday night too. I don't hate it.
If you have Josh Allen at quarterback, yeah. Okay. And then for the other one, pick 3 for the flexes. So DJ Moore's for sure in my lineup. Set it and forget it. In a 1.5 premium, I'm probably going with one of the tight ends that I don't pick in the flex.
Yeah, I'm fine doing that. Yeah, you definitely get I would put it in Njoku in your tight end spot and Knox in the flex, along with DJ Moore, and probably Zay Jones is the other guy.
Zay, yeah, probably.
Zay versus Cooks would be kind of close, I guess, but I'd probably go with Zay Jones.
I probably agree with that. And again, appreciate the super chat there, Dustin. Another super chat from Dylan. He says Deontay Johnson, Zach Moss, or Brandon Cooks. I'd go with Deontay Johnson here.
I'd go Zach Moss.
I go Deontay Johnson. I'm assuming this is full PPR, but you can let us know in the chat, and I don't mind making this a bet.
Yeah, let's do it. This is like the first time I've bet against Deontay Johnson all year.
Yeah, dude, the circle of life in our betting, bro. Like
I bet on Deontay Johnson so many times this year.
Literally though, I would go with Deontay Johnson, assuming that's any type of PPR. But I mean, specifically for our bet, we're assuming it's full unless you give some clarification. Stephen Hines, $5. Appreciate that. He says half PPR. Chuba, Jamal Williams, or Jeff Wilson. Give me Jamal Williams with that high over under. That
for sure. He's got a chance to punch them in.
Yeah, I mean he's a fringe top 20 level running back.
I would,
in my opinion.
Jamal Williams. I want to kind of look at the odds of it right now. I just want to look at Jamal Williams.
2+ touchdowns.
Yeah, I want to go look at it.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what it is. To score 2+ touchdowns, Jamal Williams is plus 430. He's the highest odds of anybody in that game for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, no, I would definitely go with Jamal Williams there, and of course appreciate.
What if Jamal Williams finishes this year with 16 rushing touchdowns?
That would be crazy. Also, dude, you know how close I was about a month ago? He also said it's PPR, so that confirms our bet. A month ago, I saw Zeke with like plus 1,000 to plus 1,500 odds to finish or lead the league in rushing touchdowns this year. And since then, he scored like a touchdown in his last like 7 games.
Yeah.
And like, I just wish I fucking at least took like one stab at the bet, even if it was a fucking tenner. Because I'm like, okay, high scoring offense.
Receiving touchdowns at right now? Because I had a bet preseason that Diggs would lead the league in touchdowns at like plus 750 odds or something.
I think Kelsey's currently leading. Let me check. Kelsey has 12, Adams has 12, Diggs has 10, Brown has 10, and then the next closest is Waddle / CeeDee Lamb with 8. Rushing touchdowns. So Zeke is at 12 right now. The leader, Jamal Williams, is at 14. So
weird.
Which is Derrick Henry at 13, but of course he missed this past week, and then Jalen Hurts at 13, but of course he missed this past week.
Jalen Hurts has 13 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, because all they do is quarterback.
Insane.
All they do is quarterback sneak on the one.
It's fucking
annoying. They're stupid ass quarterback sneak, but they'll have someone come in motion and just push Jalen Hurts forward. It's like
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That there's a quarterback that has 13 rushing touchdowns that's missed 2 games.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. Flex Algier, DJ Moore, McKinnon, tight end, Goddard, Waller, and he says this is a full PPR. DJ Moore is easily my flex in a full PPR here.
I'd be curious to know what Jalen Hurts would be as at the running back position if you just took his running back.
Well, he's got like 800 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns, so he's probably a top 10 running back. And then I would go with Goddard over Waller. He mentioned it was a full PPR. Ridiculous, by the way.
I'm still mad I passed on him in my home league, dude. I was like, oh, I got a tier break at wide receiver. I got to take Michael Thomas here. Like,
dude, I got him in like every league. Like Jalen Hurts.
I got him in a lot of other leagues too, but I didn't take him in this league because I already had exposure to him, and I was like, oh, I'll take Michael Thomas here. I think it's too good of a value to pass up. I had an Eagles fan picking behind me too. I should have known I had to pick Jalen Hurts there. I was like, he falls back to me. No.
You know what was so funny? I remember when we were in Buffalo, and I'm like, oh, the tier break at quarterback, I got to take Jalen Hurts here. And then you were like, oh, you pass on the wide receivers on the board given your team. And then it just so happened like all of them ended up like busting, and Jalen Hurts was like a fantasy MVP before he got hurt.
Yep.
What do you think in a half-point PPR? Running back start 3, Chubb, Connor, McKinnon, Kamara. Wide receiver start 1, Juju or Judy. Defense, Eagles, Giants, or Chiefs. So for the first one, running backs, you have to start 3. I would definitely go with Connor as my RB1 here. And then the rest are kind of like a clear gap off.
Yeah, I would say Connor, Chubb, and McKinnon would be who I would start at the.
I would probably agree with that.
And then wide receiver, I would start Juju over Judy.
Agreed.
And then defense-wise, it'd be between the Eagles and Giants, but I think I'd roll with the Giants just given the Colts.
Oh, right. The Giants play the Colts. I was thinking
the Giants play the Colts at home. Yeah. Like, I think that's a pretty easy matchup for them.
I think all these defenses are really fucking.
They're all fine defenses. The Chiefs are a good option too, but I mean the Broncos, for what it's worth, were able to put up points last time they played against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't mind going with the Giants against that.
I think it's in Denver too, if I'm not mistaken.
It's in Kansas City.
Oh, is it in Kansas City? Yeah. Okay, maybe they might get slaughtered.
Yeah. Oh, it might be in. Wait, let me just check. I think it's in Kansas City, but yeah, it's in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's in Kansas City.
But yeah, I'd go with the Giants there, as you kind of mentioned. Take more of my money. Appreciate that. He says Mixon over Algier. I would still go with Joe Mixon.
Mixon's my RB4 this week. I haven't really.
I respect it. Wide receivers: Chark, Dotson, and Ayuk start 2 in a standard. I mean, I'm going with Dotson, Ayuk.
Chark.
Yeah,
Chark's been good recently, but I'm sitting Chark.
Yeah. Higgins or Adams? Choose one at wide receiver 1. St. Brown flex. I'm going with Higgins over Adams this week. Higgins my wide receiver 8.
You have Higgins that high, eh?
Yes.
Do I have Higgins that high?
Probably.
Yeah, I do have Higgins that high. I have him at 9.
I'd go Higgins.
Yeah. I'd go Higgins over Adams as well.
Also, it's so funny that St. Brown's in the flex. He's literally my wide receiver 2 this week.
That's crazy. My wide receiver, I have Chase as my wide receiver 2, and I had Lamb as my wide receiver 3, and then
who's your 3?
Lamb. Lamb was my wide receiver 3, and then I have Monroe as my wide receiver 4.
So I had it as Jefferson, St. Brown, Chase, Diggs, and then Lamb. That was my top 5 this week. And then Brown was AJ was 6. Got another super chat here from Corey. He says, even a tight end premium, you start Slayton over Fant.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, Fant's like a fine option, but he's in a tight end premium. He's more of like a touchdown or bust tight end than he is like a target guy.
Full PPR, Hollywood, Dortch, or Juju. I would go with Juju Smith-Schuster there, Steven.
Yeah, I would as well, but Hollywood's kind of close.
Yep. I mean, not really with David Blau. And
I mean, Blau is better than McSorley.
He's not better than Colt McCoy, though.
No.
But yeah, we are all caught up on super chats unless something comes in as I'm talking.
I've just been sitting here waiting for us to get back to these questions. Apologies if you guys left a question at like 11:55 because we haven't gotten to it, but we really appreciate all the support.
Yeah,
for sure. Which tight end should I start? Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram? Give me Andrews there.
Yeah.
Emerson says Waddle or Wilson at the flex. I'd take Waddle there.
Garrett Wilson.
You take Garrett Wilson over Jalen Waddle this week?
I have Garrett Wilson over Waddle and Metcalf. I mean, we could do that bet if you want.
I'm down to do that bet. They both have tough matchups, realistically. Yeah. The Waddle's playing the Patriots and Wilson's playing the Seahawks, who don't sound like a tough matchup, but they have been against fantasy wide receivers. It's really a coin flip, to be honest. Both guys are great options. They're great players. They have the opportunity to catch long touchdowns and shit. I'm just going to go with Jalen Waddle. He's been the more consistent guy this year.
Yeah, no, it's respectable. Got a super chat here from... Yeah, I'm down. I'm assuming full PPR because that's basically what most of ours are usually in. Got a super chat here from Nuke. If you have a question, feel free to leave it, and I'll just skip the line if I see it in the chat.
Nuke Hopkins in the chat.
Yes, sir. Big Nuke. Sorry you can't play today.
True. Corey says Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. That. Start Stevenson or Hollywood in the flex. Easily Ramondre Stevenson there, Mikey boy, and also Corey.
Happy birthday, Corey.
To you as well. Full PPR, need to Garrett Wilson, Dotson, Pittman, Lockett, Pacheco, Algier. To me, Garrett Wilson's the easy one there.
Yep.
And then I'm probably going to go with Pittman as the second one, given that it's full PPR.
Yeah, I would go with Pittman here.
Algier and Lockett are also kind of in the conversation there as well. Dotson and Pacheco, I'm not really considering there.
Lockett's finger gives me a little bit of a pause coming straight back from that.
I believe it's the Jets too that he's playing.
And I believe I talked about it on the show, but he's like 10 days out of surgery from recovering that broken finger. So it's a little bit sketchy for a receiver with a finger that's completely messed up.
Kind of needs his hands to do his job.
Plus, not to mention Evan's a Colts fan. He gets to cheer on Pittman, so big dub there.
Yeah, true. Kamara Stevenson full PPR. I'll take Ramondre there pretty easily.
Yep.
Higby or Njoku. I think
he
may have supered that.
Yep.
Thanks for the dope season, boys. No problem, Domain.
Anytime.
Appreciate from you. Noted patron of ours. Waddle, Garrett Wilson, or Ken Walker. I'd go with Waddle. Danny go with Garrett Wilson. I would assume.
I will say in a half PPR, Walker becomes more intriguing compared to the receivers, but I would still go with Garrett Wilson personally.
Yeah. Are we starting Christian Watson or benching for Dotson? I would play Dotson, given that Watson's deal.
Well, are you going to know? When do the Commanders play?
The Commanders play at 1 o'clock.
They play at 1. You're not even going to know, so just go with Dotson.
Yeah. Where's Christian Watson in my rankings? He's down here at 425. I'm like I'm struggling where to rank Christian Watson. Like if you have like, I would say
you can only play him if you have replacement options 425 or later.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like, if you have like Jacoby Myers at 1 o'clock, would you play him over? Would you play Marquise Brown over him if you had?
Yeah, I would play those guys over him simply because I'm not taking the risk in championship week.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be screwed in championship week and have to start like an Isaiah McKenzie off your waiver wire on Monday night because you were screwed.
For real. So Nuke followed up with his super chat that he says, full PPR, I need a flex running back 2 and wide receiver 2. I have Judy, Hollywood Brown, Dobbins, Dillon, Najee, Olave, and Brian Robinson. Also have Fields or Burrow. So I'll pick the easier one first. Fields or Burrow. I would go with Justin Fields there, though they are back-to-back in my rankings. However, I mean, if you did have like a Bengals receiver here and you wanted to go for the stack, get that upside in championship week, I wouldn't mind, making that slight differentiation because they're the same tier. But straight up, in a vacuum, I'm going with Justin Fields. In terms of the other one, you need 3 of these guys, and at least one of them has to be a running back and one of them has to be a receiver. So my wide receiver, which Brown is that? Hollywood Brown. I'm an idiot.
So to me, the easy one here is Dillon's the running back.
Yes. I read that as Hollywood and then Brown, not like Hollywood. Yeah.
So I think Dillon's the running back there.
Brian Robinson.
Is Olave the wide receiver? Or do you start Judy over him?
Do we know that? Is Olave officially cleared to play?
I didn't even see Brian Robinson's name.
The flex.
Brian Robinson. Yeah. Brian Robinson and Dillon are in your lineup. Yeah. The last option would come down to Judy and Olave probably for me.
Yeah, I'd probably just go safe with Judy. He's been electric when he's been healthy.
Yeah, it's a bad matchup for Philly. It's a good matchup for Judy. He had 3 touchdowns against Kansas City last time I played them. I'd probably go with Judy as well.
Nuke does mention he does have Mixon. The only thing there is if you have Mixon, I actually would be more inclined not to play Burrow because you're hoping that they score and they rush it in when they're in the goal line situation to max your upside. So I would actually more favor Justin Fields in this scenario because you have Mixon.
Right.
Hector, appreciate that. He says, good morning. Pick one flex, Mostert, Murray, Dotson, Hollywood Brown. Thanks. I am scared shitless about Mostert given that split that he had with Jeff Wilson last week, so he's not in my lineup. I already kind of mentioned, Latavius Murray's a 12.5 point underdog. They're implied for like 17 points. Not really a lot of upside there. I would go Dotson as well. Looking through this, especially with the given news with Hollywood Brown, I did have him as a top 30 receiver, but that was prior to the news that David Blau would be in the lineup. I was assuming that Colt McCoy would be the starter. So rather than a top 30 wide receiver, I think he's more so in that fringe top 40 range, which Dotson would be in anyways.
35 is where I have Marquise Brown. Again, you make the argument he could be a little bit higher than that because it's Atlanta. If you wanted to play him over like Allen Lazard and Jacoby Myers, I think you could definitely make that argument, but I would still play John Dotson over him.
Yep. No, I would agree with that. Appreciate the super chat from Trojan. He says super flex or standard. I read that as super flex. Weird. Standard flex, D-Mont or Gabe Davis last play in case I'm down. So if you're saying last play in case you're down, are you the clear underdog in this matchup?
If you're the clear underdog, I don't hate playing Gabe Davis in a standard, just given that he could have like a 3 touchdown game.
And he did clarify here. He did say, in case I'm down, I kind of want that last second chance. If you already have that inkling that you want that chance, you want that high ceiling on Monday because you feel maybe you might be behind going into that game, I don't mind with going with Gabe Davis in that instance because at the end of the day, it's your fucking lineup. Like if you already have that feeling right now, they're very similar plays with Montgomery and Davis.
I would say in a vacuum, I would prefer Montgomery though.
Agreed. In a vacuum, but obviously once we have context of matchup implications, I don't mind going with Davis for your sake.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we are all caught up on supers thus far.
Okay, so we're back up to 12:05 p.m. Pick 2 full PPR.
How ironic is this?
DK Metcalf. I think he supered this, if I'm not mistaken. I could be baked. Jalen Waddle and DK Metcalf would be what I go with. Danny would go with DK Metcalf and Garrett Wilson.
How ironic is this? Because these are the same 3 receivers we've been talking about for the whole stream.
Yeah. Judy, Juju, Olave, Deontay, full PPR start 1. I would go with Juju there.
Yep. I would go with Juju as well. Got a super chat here from Mo. He says Stevenson or Swift. I would go with Stevenson. Stevenson or Swift or McKinnon. Scared of Stevenson. I would not be scared of Stevenson. I would go with Stevenson.
Yeah, agreed. I'd be going with Stevenson there as well.
Yep. Appreciate the super chat. By the way, what was the chat what's called consensus on what our values are for our going nuts.
I don't even know if anybody responded. So, okay.
Oh.
Remember, we need 20 plus PPR points to get the points for this. How likely is Travis Etienne to do that? Which was my going nuts pick. 1, 2, or 3. 1 being he's very likely, 3 being he's not very likely. And then for Danny's Garrett Wilson, 1, 2, or 3. Leave it down below in the chat, and then we'll be able to score those out for us if they happen. We're not doing well in our going nuts. I would say of the bets that we've been doing, we haven't been predicting these going nuts players very well.
It's almost like we give bad juju to whatever guy we pick.
Yeah, I mean, like there was one week, I think it was a Monra, that like the chat was like, you should get 0.5 for that one. He had like, he didn't even get it.
He didn't even get it. That was insane.
Yeah. And he was playing Atlanta or some shit. And it was like such a slam dunk that a Monra was going to go off.
I think Mass is referring to both of them being worth 2. And I think Brock is referring to both of them being worth 1. So if you guys have clarification on that, feel free to leave it down below. Corey said both of them are worth 2 as well. So yeah, perfect. We'll keep track of that through the live stream.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, it seems like most of the live so far has been saying 2. Brock said 1, so we'll give it a couple minutes to let stew before we see what the consensus says.
Yeah. Okay, so let me find where I left off here.
Yep.
We got a Happy New Year in the chat here. Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year.
I think he supered this, but
yep,
he definitely did.
We definitely appreciate that. We'll go back. Appreciate that.
We answered that when he supered. I remember.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Adams or Dotson? Yeah, we gotta play Adams there.
Yep.
PPR Dynasty, pick 3. Sanders, Evans, Algier, McKinnon, Gabe Davis. Also can trade Algier and Hubbard for Connor right now to go for the title. Are you inclined to do that?
I mean, if you're still in the hunt to win a championship, I would definitely try to go for a top 10 running back in my rankings this week. Like if you're already at this point, you're in the championship.
You got like 3 minutes to get that trade done, but I actually think that's a worthwhile trade to make because Algier, while he's a good young running back, he's a 5th round pick. So I'm not totally, and like Connor's got more job security next year than he does. So I would say that I'd be fine going with Connor. The one thing I saw somebody tweet this out today, if you're going to make competitive trades in Dynasty, which is not something I typically like doing overall,
gotta go for cheap options.
You got to go for either cheap options or options that are going to still be valuable once the season is over. So you don't want to trade for like Dalvin Cook right now because he's probably not going to be that valuable once the season is over, or at least he's going to lose value by a decent amount once the season's over. The reason I like trading, for example, in our listener Dynasty League, I traded a 1st rounder for Chris Godwin in a 3rd, I think, because Chris Godwin to me is not going to lose a ton of value once the season is over because he's still only 27 years old and he's got, multiple top 10 seasons under his belt. So he's still going to be a fine option. Same goes for like when I traded for Devontae Adams in our Tone Setters League. He's still going to have a lot of value as a guy that, is just still one of the best receivers in the league.
For sure. Yeah, so it looks like the consensus is saying 2 on both. We'll try to get to a couple questions right now. 3 minutes left. So if you guys are still tuning in, appreciate your patience and apologize to you guys who we haven't gotten to yet. So Byron says, Championship Day, I wouldn't be here without you guys. Thanks. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we like hearing that more than even winning our own championships,
yeah,
to be honest. Like I like hearing that you guys are winning championships and that I was helpful or that we were helpful for you throughout the year. Then I even enjoy winning my own championship sometime. It's nice to hear. So definitely appreciate everybody that says stuff like that. I think Sean already super chatted that question.
I believe so.
Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Bam Knight, Akers. Okay,
B-Rob, Akers, and Pittman.
Yeah, B-Rob, Akers, and Pittman would be where I would go as well. But I would have Algier and Pittman quite close.
Yep. Okay.
Evan Ingram or Pat Freiermuth.
Ingram.
Yeah, give me Ingram there. Muth, Komet at tight end. I'll take Freiermuth there.
Yep.
Dylan, Ayuk, Algier. I'll take Dylan of those options.
Yeah, I'd probably agree, though. Ayuk is very close.
Judy or Robinson. Is that
Robinson?
Demarcus Robinson?
I'm assuming this is Brian.
Oh, if this is Brian Robinson, yeah, give me Brian Robinson. Yeah, I'll take Brian Robinson there as well. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. McLaurin or AJ Dillon. I'll take AJ Dillon there slightly.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I mentioned the splits.
McLaurin's a great play this week too, though. For what
I don't know, man. I'm really worried about the volume. I'm really worried about it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's 12:59. We'll sign off of here again. I don't know about you, Danny, but I'm extremely excited to get into off-season content. It's been 17 straight weeks of doing
100%
and the same kind of stuff every week. As much as I like, watching the games during the season, the content itself gets a little bit stale. So I'm very excited. Next week, we're going to, come at you guys with, kind of like reflective based content. We're going to do updates to our dynasty rankings. I don't know which one would you guys rather see first? Would you rather see us do an update for our dynasty rankings first, or would you rather us reflect on the season and talk about what we learned and what we can take into next year and all that kind of stuff? Let us know down below in the comments. But then we'll get right into rookie draft stuff and all that kind of stuff come January, February, get into the tail of the tapes and all that kind of stuff.
And obviously, guys, seeing what you guys would prefer, but I'm assuming that like the reflection stuff probably should happen like right as the season ends. But again, if you guys want to see the dynasty content first, feel free. Because I mean,
well, a lot of people, when I asked them what they wanted to see next week in the Discord, they said, I want to see dynasty buys and sells before people know what hit them, kind of thing. And I'm like, that's probably a good idea too, because then if you're going for trade targets, guys that you want to buy right now, it's going to take people time to realize what happened during the season. And especially for young players, they're not going to really notice what maybe Jahan Dotson did or something. If your league's a little behind. So I understand people wanting to go for, trade targets as well.
Not to mention, I mean, we do have 7 days in the week. So realistically, if we did,
we can mix in a couple. We do one reflective video and, 2 dynasty vids and fucking.
I got a fun video I'm planning out for us as well. But I mean, I'll talk to you about that off stream. But either way, again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. 1 o'clock. Good luck in your championships. Hopefully you do secure the dub, whether that, it's a free league or whether you're getting that 9K payout to first.
Yeah. Our Gravy's got a 9K payout on deck. Hopefully he can take that one home
for sure. But either way, take care.
All right.